Hi everyone, my name is Erin, and I just wanted to begin this video by thanking everyone for the incredible support you showed for my first video. I did not expect it to do that well, and I am a million times thankful for everyone who took the time to like, comment, share, subscribe. It's more than I could have asked for, and for that, I am incredibly thankful. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. We are just about a week away from the release of the second Five Nights at Freddy's movie. And, to the surprise of no one, we're getting a ton of material to promote it. Clips, interviews, pictures, chicken collaborations that really don't make sense. The works. And as a result of all of this, we've been getting so many theories. So much so that when I originally recorded this video, I found myself talking about a lot of theories that have already been in discussion. I really didn't think that we needed to keep talking about them, since there's so many places where you can go and do that, and I highly recommend you do. There's very interesting discussions going on right now. But I wanted to re-record with some of my own ideas that I've been thinking about since the release of the second trailer. So let's start from the beginning. The questions. Who's Lisa? If you haven't already heard, McKenna Grace's character for the film is named Lisa. This is interesting for a few reasons. One being that there's not another character named Lisa in the FNAF franchise. She's not in the books from what I could find, and from my memory, she's not in the games either. Honestly, that's not a huge deal. It's not surprising that they want to introduce new characters for the movies, especially since they take place in a different timeline from the main continuity. However, it is interesting that it's Lisa. If you don't already know, Lisa is a nickname for Elizabeth. Elizabeth is a character in the franchise. Elizabeth is a huge character in the franchise. Now, I'm not saying that McKenna Grace is going to be playing Elizabeth Afton. We already have those theories about Freddie Carter playing Michael Afton. We don't need another Afton. I mean, I am curious about how Movie William ended up becoming a murderer, since we don't see any of his own kids die. But maybe the introduction of Michael, assuming he's being introduced, is going to clear some of that up. But if that is the case, and they want to steer more into the game's lore, Elizabeth wouldn't be alive. Because of this, I don't think McKenna Grace is playing Elizabeth Afton. I think that's silly from a storytelling point of view, and also one too many big reveals for me. What I do find interesting, however, is her odd connection to the puppet. From the trailers, we know that Lisa is the first one, or presumably the first one, to find the music box. We also know from the promotional photos that at some point it looks like Lisa might be getting possessed by the marionette. Now, on some level, this is probably to amp up the scare factor of the second movie, since that was a huge critique of the first one. But I do think it's interesting that they chose a character named Lisa to be connected to Charlie. We never see Elizabeth and Charlie interact in the games, so it's odd that that connection would be drawn. And my voice is fried. Oh my god, that's how much shorter I am when I sit. That's not good. There is, however, a connection between Vanessa and Charlie, which we see in this screenshot from the movie. Now, why is all of this important? Well, from a lot of the releases that we've seen for this movie, it seems that the puppet is a huge player in it. I mean, we've seen the music box, we've seen the puppet, we've seen Charlie. We've also seen a kid that might be Sammy. Who knows? I mean, aside from the questions that are still asked about her role in the franchise, why is Charlie haunting the narrative so potently in the film? One possible solution I had for this question lies in the DCI, MCI, and idea of possession. The timeline seems a little wonky in this film since the Wizards are coming straight from the first pizzeria, which in the game it's the other way around. However, it's still not clear if the toys are being possessed. It's very likely that we're going to see William luring children into the back to kill them, based on the fact that we see Vanessa with what's likely William's victim's belongings, and also some of the frames of the movie that seem to indicate that he's doing exactly that. That being said, we don't know that he's going to stuff those children into suits, and if it's anything like the games, he's not. Instead, it seems more likely that we're going to see the puppeteer. I'm not sure who originally came up with this idea, but I saw somewhere that someone suggested that instead of the toys being possessed, they're being puppeted by the marionette. Now, this would be very interesting for the movie because it implies that the marionette has the ability to control other things. Obviously, it could just be the animatronics, but there's a chance that maybe she has powers that extend beyond them. Maybe she has the power to control humans, like Lisa and what seems to be happening in this screenshot. This all seems to go back to her connection to the Aftons. We know that for some reason the animatronics want Abby to go back, and perhaps that's so they can get Mike and Vanessa to return. Why would they want Mike and Vanessa to return? Because Vanessa spent years protecting her father from the consequences of his own actions. She made sure he didn't get caught, and she seemed to feel this guilt as a kid too, if this clip from the movie is really her stopping Charlie from following William outside after he lured a kid there. The reason I believe that this is what's happening in this scene is because we also have the image of Charlie looking very contemplatively out into the distance, which I think is her realizing that Afton is up to something. Then we have the clip from the trailer where she's screaming and holding another kid. Obviously people see her, but this seems very, very out of place, especially since she's carrying the kid who's so far been assumed to be Sammy. It makes sense that she would follow her brother outside if he was following some random yellow bunny. I mean, not random, she would be familiar with the suit at the very least, but this would give Vanessa a motive to stop her. It's also raining in that image, so this could be the moment she died. And to explain all the people looking at her in the scene where she's screaming, that could be because they're not seeing Charlie. They might be seeing the puppet. And perhaps the kid is a ghost. Either way, I think that Charlie may be using Lisa, and potentially the withered animatronics, to lure our main group back into the establishment. Maybe to get revenge, maybe to get answers. That doesn't answer the question of why Michael's there. Perhaps after seeing the collapse of the establishment from the first movie, he came back to town to figure out what was up. Maybe he and Lisa end up working together, explaining why she would be named after Elizabeth. Maybe he went there to save Lisa. I mean, that's what he does in the games, technically. I don't think that's very likely. I think Michael has his own thing going on. But as I said, it seems very likely that Charlie and Vanessa and the puppet and Lisa and everyone freaking else are connected. I also think that this is going to tie into a conclusion to the Schmidt timeline. I think one of the things that's going to benefit the movie is turning more towards an Afton-focused story. And because of that, I think we're going to see a nice conclusion with Mike and Abby, and a shift in focus towards Michael and Vanessa. Or maybe even just Michael. There's a chance that the house that we see in Vanessa's dream sequence is her own, and that it's the house on the hill. If that's the case, then who's to say that there isn't a bunker underneath that's going to lead to a sister location? It's the perfect setup for an additional movie. So, to conclude, I think that Vanessa was aware of what her father was doing since she was a kid, but because she was a kid and also his daughter, she felt obligated to protect him. We see this in the first movie. Then she sees Charlie following him outside as he lures, potentially Sammy, to his death. Vanessa tries to stop Charlie, but Charlie, being the strong-willed spirit she is, goes out and ends up murdered. That's when we get the scene where she's on stage screaming. Years later, the events of the first movie occur, and the Withereds get moved to the second location. Technically the first location. Charlie, as the puppet, hears about this from the other spirits, and when she gets the opportunity, takes possession of Lisa. She then uses the Withereds to lure Abby and Lisa to lure Elizabeth, who also seek answers from Henry, ultimately tying in the Afton timeline to this movie. Anyways, that's my prediction for the second movie. I know that this video is probably a lot shorter than my first one. That wasn't really the goal, but given that I'm recording this like a day before I want it to be uploaded, I hope you'll forgive me. I also didn't have a lot of details for this theory just because it's mostly speculation. There's a lot more I would have talked about if I would have written a script, so. I also think there's tie-ins with the toys being able to walk around outside, and seeing Mangle attack Vanessa is, like, huge, honestly, especially if I'm right. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed it nonetheless. Make sure to like, subscribe, and comment so that we can discuss this theory further, and I can also hear about your theories. Check out my last video if you haven't already, and I hope to see you all next week. Bye!